candidates. His name is John Rhys-Evans. Thank you all so much for coming out on this beautiful November day. I know that many of you have travelled long distances, some from as far away as Wales. Many of you have taken time off work or from family to be here, but your time is being well spent, because by being here, we are sending out a clear message, one that can no longer be ignored, no matter how hard they, their friends in the media, their corporate lackeys, their well-oiled and well-bribed spokesmen, and their spoiled children they've managed to brainwash through their cynical manipulation of our education system. No matter how hard they try to say otherwise, we're here to say that that building does nothing and means nothing without our say-so. Without the consent of the British people.
17.5 million.
Let us stop and think for a moment what really has happened in 2016. This has been a year when the people, not the establishment, controlled the debate. A year when a globalist elite and their ciphers in national parliaments had their wings clipped. A year when ordinary people decided they would no longer be dictated to and demanded to be heard. It was the year, quite simply, when the people, by the ballot, not the bullet, stood up to tyranny and demanded representation. And this isn't just happening here in Britain, although, as is so often the case with freedom and democracy, Britain has yet again led the way. But no, we are certainly not isolated. We are not, as they'd have us believe, little Englanders. We are now part of a worldwide movement, a movement which is resisting the stranglehold of a worldwide political elite. That we are part of a worldwide family of free thinkers that is growing in Europe, in America, and in the rest of the Anglosphere. The people we are up against believe in a post-democratic consensus. They want a world without nations. They want a world where the little people just get on with it and do as they are told. They want a world where every street looks the same from Anchorage to Vladivostok. Some people believe in this fantasy with the best of intentions. They see a bright future, a world without war or want. But we are here to fight for democracy. And what they want can never be democratic nor free. There can be no democracy without a demos, a group of persons with a shared culture, beliefs and ideals, who have allegiance to each other and to the values which unite them. The will of the British people and the shared belief and allegiance that we owe to each other ought to be embodied in that building over there, but it is not.
It is not.
The people in that building want us to believe that all is well, that they care about us, that they listen to us, that they represent us. But sadly for you, your ruse is over. 6 months ago today, we gave you a clear mandate. We told you in no uncertain terms what we want. We told you to give us our country back. You knew exactly what we wanted, but did you listen? No. In 6 months, what have we seen?
Nothing.
Have you gone out into the world and embraced national leaders around the globe to tell them that we look forward to soon being open for business, to working together for mutual advantage? Have you done anything to fight for our dream? You've done no such thing. You've dragged your feet, you've obfuscated, you've employed obscure legal loopholes to deny us what we've asked for. So let me tell you something. You think you're sovereign, but we're a democracy. Parliament is only sovereign as long as it represents the will of the people. And since you've done nothing in the last 6 months to deliver our clear demands, we're now in danger of having that sovereignty challenged. And don't expect that challenge to come from the courts, because they are not sovereign either. We are sovereign. It is the will of the British people that is sovereign. And if you don't prove to us very soon that you're capable of understanding that, then just watch and see what's going to happen. You will pretty quickly discover that power doesn't rest with you. You can no longer ignore us. Your minions in the media can no longer suppress our voice. You need to realise that there is a strong undercurrent now risen to the surface as a tsunami, which the people in that house can no longer balk at. It is the growing sentiment amongst ordinary people, the quiet majority, who see, who feel, who know in their gut that the direction they are being taken in by a sneering elite as Britons and as good citizens of the wider world is not the direction they want. Nor is it one that they have ever consented to. But the silent majority is about to become very noisy. For no longer is the opinion of the ordinary person confined to the living room, or the black cab, or the bar stool. Winston Churchill said, "There is no such thing as public opinion, only published opinion." We now, in this digital revolution, in an age where everyone is a publisher, everyone is their own media outlet. Social media has changed the course of history forever. We have seen around the world how it has been the catalyst for irrepressible revolutions, both good and bad. But look back and reflect on the events of history. Think about how different they would be if the people had this massive tool at their fingertips. Can you imagine if Christ's disciples had Twitter? Can you imagine the Second World War with Facebook? How long would the Berlin Wall have remained standing with Instagram? How long would apartheid have lasted? How much easier would it have been for the Chartists and the suffragettes with today's technology to achieve their ends? The establishment is too slowly waking up to the fact that their lunches with journalists, their dinners with producers at the BBC are now resulting in little more than a conversation amongst themselves. They no longer control the debate. They can no longer roll out their so-called experts onto our screens and expect us to nod politely and take their word for it. They won the referendum in 1975, but this is why we won it 40 years later. But we must not be complacent about this. What we are marching for today, for Brexit, is only the first step, albeit an essential one, in continuing our fight for freedom. We must, if we want to continue the spirit of 2016, protect our indispensable right to free speech. Angered by the way social media has allowed ordinary people to drive the debate, the establishment will do all they can to limit our right to express an opinion. We have already seen executives of Google and Facebook colluding with government and displaying a heavy bias in the posts that they censor. And despite the clear fact that the people are increasingly voting against political correctness and showing absolutely no interest in the manufactured outrage of trendy intellectuals and media types from London, this form of oppression and attempted thought control dressed up as politeness continues to spread. There is no point leaving one tyranny to live under another. There is no point playing by their rules. We, the people, are sovereign, so it is we who should be writing the rules. So, I want all of you here today to pledge that you will fight against all forms of this tyranny, this thought policing, this muzzling of free speech, this erosion of our liberty of conscience by whatever means you have at your disposal. That is the spirit of 2016. There's an important principle in British law, which is that we are tried by a jury of our peers, not learned men. And this is so because our forefathers knew that it could only be such a group of people from the people that could find and determine the truth. You see, it was because the referendum debate included so many of our peers that the truth won. But our opponents had nothing to offer but smear and fear. They embarked on a war of attrition against their own people, using the language of murderous dictatorships past to describe us as an underclass, as dogs and rats that shouldn't have been allowed to vote. Most callously, they often attacked the very poorest and those that were the hardest affected by the European project and by mass, uncontrolled immigration. They accused us of being fueled by hatred, small-mindedness and division. But we, and frankly, they too, know this to be untrue. As a movement, conversely, we are instead encouraged and inspired by a desire for unity, by the love of freedom, and by the keeping of peace. They could never understand that those that had little were actually rich in their identity as Britons, in their heritage as members of a proud nation, and in the bonds they shared with their fellow countrymen. But smear the establishment did. We shouldn't be too hard on them, I suppose. Can you imagine how hard it must be for these people to now look with nostalgia at the splendour of the European Parliament building in Strasbourg, that magnificent attempt to recreate the Tower of Babel?
Yes!
Can you feel their yearning as they weep at the sight of that wondrous blue flag? The momentary joy they feel while listening to Beethoven's Ode to Joy, before realising that it's all in the past? Yes, we get it, Anna Soubry. We get it, Sim Farron. We get it, Chaka Umana. You want your country back. It's just rather unfortunate for you that 17 million people in the biggest mandate this country has ever returned voted for theirs. And so I'll leave these MPs with a quote from that fearless gentleman over there, Oliver Cromwell, from his speech 363 years ago when he dismissed the Rump Parliament. It is high time for me to put an end to your sitting in this place, which you have dishonoured by your contempt of all virtue and defiled by your practice of every vice. Ye are a factious crew and enemies of all good government. Ye are a pack of mercenary wretches and would, like Esau, sell your country for a mess of pottage, and like Judas, betray your God for a few pieces of money. Is there a single virtue now remaining amongst you? Is there one vice ye do not possess? Ye have no more religion than my horse. Gold is your God. Which of you have not bartered your conscience for bribes? Is there a man amongst you that has the least care for the good of the Commonwealth? Ye sordid prostitutes! Have you not defiled this sacred place and turned the Lord's temple into a den of thieves by your immoral principles and wicked practices? Ye are grown intolerably odious to the whole nation, and yet you were deputed here by the people to get grievances redressed. So take away that shining bauble up there and lock up the doors, and in the name of God, go. Cromwell's words are as pertinent today as they were nearly 400 years ago. Little has changed in that house, but here on the outside things have changed massively. So take this as your final warning. Stop deriding us from your ivory towers. Give the people what they want right now, or wait and watch while everything you hold dear shatters around you and we, the people, take control. Thank you.